We're petrified about Charlie. Charlie has contracted the HIV virus. He was immediately put on treatment, strong antiviral drugs, which have suppressed the virus. Unfortunately, we don't have a cure yet.
Charlie Sheen, a name that once lit up the entire Hollywood sky, not only for his talent, but for the way he lived, performed, and burned through every beat of his life. He entered cinema as if it were destiny itself. Platoon, Wall Street, Major League, 2.5 Men. Each role etched a different reflection of who he was. A touch of pride, a streak of rebellion, and a deep loneliness hidden behind those steady eyes. To the world, Charlie Sheen was a star, charming, intelligent, fearless. But to himself, he was a man endlessly searching for peace. While laughter echoed from television screens, he was quietly fighting his own battles, against addiction, emptiness, and the invisible wounds no one could see. His life was an unending contradiction, highs and lows, light and shadow, glory and redemption. And yet through it all, Charlie Sheen rose again, not with the arrogance of the past, but with the calm acceptance of a man who has learned the true value of every breath. He chose sobriety, he chose to confront, he chose to forgive. And in doing so, he made people stop judging and start understanding. Charlie Sheen has walked through light and darkness, fame and isolation, through storms few could survive. You may have judged him, pitied him, or mourned what he lost. But as you listen to this story, try to see him through different eyes, not as a spectator, but as someone who understands. Because sometimes behind the fall of a legend is simply a man trying to be loved one more time. Charlie Sheen, born Carlos Erwin Estevez, entered the world on September 3, 1965 in New York City, under dramatic circumstances. The umbilical cord was wrapped tightly around his neck, leaving him unconscious at birth, and only the quick hands of the doctor saved his life. Sheen would later recall that from that very moment, his existence seemed destined to walk the line between life and death. The youngest of 4 siblings, Ramon Jr., Emilio, and Renee, Charlie grew up in an artistic household. His father, Martin Sheen, would become a celebrated actor, though in his youth, he struggled to find his footing. Facing barriers in the industry, Martin adopted a stage name but kept his real one privately. He rose to fame with The Subject Was Roses and Badlands, 1973, where an 8-year-old Charlie made his first brief appearance on screen. Despite professional success, Martin Sheen's life was once marred by alcohol and rage. His eldest son, Emilio, would later admit to being a victim of that temper. During the filming of Apocalypse Now, Martin famously got drunk for real in a scene, smashed a mirror, and soon after suffered a heart attack, an event that pushed him to quit drinking. But for Charlie, who had witnessed it all as a child, his father became both an idol and a shadow he could never escape. Growing up amid Hollywood's temptations, Charlie entered adolescence through experiences far too adult. At 11, he tried marijuana. At 15, he had his first misguided adult experience with an older woman, something his father discovered through a credit card bill. By 16, he was caught by police with marijuana and a knife in his car, but his mother's acquaintance with a local judge spared him from harsher consequences. The breaking point came at 17, when Charlie and a group of friends were caught dumpster diving behind the Beverly Hills Hotel to retrieve guest information, later using stolen credit cards to buy luxury goods. He was arrested and expelled from Santa Monica High School just weeks before graduation. What made it all more painful was that Charlie had once been a promising baseball player for the Santa Monica High team, playing shortstop. He had earned a baseball scholarship to the University of Kansas and dreamed of joining the Cincinnati Reds. But that one reckless year shattered everything. The scholarship was revoked, and his baseball ambitions collapsed. In later years, Sheen would often claim that he had turned down a scholarship to pursue acting, though the truth was that his troubled youth had left him with no other choice. Amid the chaos, Sheen's passion for film quietly grew. As a teenager, he collaborated with future stars Rob Lowe and Sean Penn, making low-budget short films, writing, directing, and acting in them himself. Before achieving fame, he had a minor role in the execution of Private Slovik, 1974, and appeared in the unreleased independent project Grizzly 2, The Predator. Finally, in 1984, Charlie Sheen made his official Hollywood debut in the war film Red Dawn. From a child born on the edge of death to a teenager who lost his dream to youthful recklessness, Charlie Sheen stepped into life carrying both light and shadow. Those early pains would become the foundation of a career and a life defined by extremes. Charlie Sheen began his film journey with small roles, but quickly drew attention with Red Dawn, 1984, the first American film ever rated PG-13 and a box office hit that year. He then appeared in The Boys Next Door and Lucas, followed by a brief cameo in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, 1986, playing a drug-addicted bad boy, a role that unintentionally mirrored his own rebellious youth. The true turning point came with Platoon, 1986. Under the direction of Oliver Stone, Sheen transformed into Chris Taylor, a young soldier thrown into the hell of the Vietnam War. The performance not only catapulted him into the ranks of Hollywood's most promising young actors, but also marked a defining milestone in his career. Behind the scenes, filming Platoon was nearly a survival test. Before shooting, the cast was dropped into the Philippine jungle for a grueling boot camp designed to break them down and rebuild them as real soldiers. Long marches, army rations, sleeping outdoors among insects, and fake gunfire through the night to simulate the constant fear of ambush. Forrest Whitaker accidentally struck himself with a machete during training. Tom Berenger was stabbed in the leg. Willem Dafoe needed on-site medical attention, all shouting, "Medic," even as the cameras kept rolling. Sheen himself nearly fell out of a helicopter during an air assault scene, only to be pulled back at the last second by a crewmate. Oliver Stone initially doubted whether Sheen was too polished to play a soldier, but the actor's endurance during filming changed his mind. When Platoon premiered and went on to win the Academy Award for Best Picture, Sheen was finally recognized as a genuine talent, no longer just Martin Sheen's son. A year later, he reunited with Stone for Wall Street, 1987, this time sharing the screen with his father. The tense exchanges between their characters reflected the very real father-son conflicts behind the scenes. Yet Sheen's career faltered briefly afterward. He later admitted to filming several scenes while drunk, which may have cost him the lead role in Bourne on the 4th of July, a part that eventually earned Tom Cruise an Oscar nomination. Moving into the 1990s, Sheen proved his versatility with Young Guns, 8 Men Out, Major League, and the parody duo Hot Shots, where he boldly mocked his own image and scored major box office success. In 1994, his achievements were immortalized with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Within just a decade, the once obscure young man had become an A-list star with his name engraved on Hollywood Boulevard. But that same spotlight also marked the beginning of the cracks that would soon widen in his turbulent private life. If the 1980s and 1990s made Charlie Sheen a promising film actor, then the new millennium brought him a different kind of stardom, one that few expected: television. In 2000, Sheen was chosen to replace Michael J. Fox in the hit sitcom Spin City. It was a bold gamble for the producers, since Fox had been the heart and soul of the show, beloved for his charm and warmth. Bringing in Sheen, who at that time carried more scandal than acclaim, as Deputy Mayor Charlie Crawford, made many predict that Spin City would collapse almost immediately. Sheen later recalled stepping onto the set both cautious and determined. He knew he was the outsider joining a close-knit cast and crew, so he made an effort to blend in, attending every script reading, staying humble, and maintaining strict professionalism, a sharp contrast to his wild public persona. That focus and discipline eventually earned him the respect of his colleagues, who discovered that Sheen possessed a natural comedic rhythm that breathed new life into a show struggling to stay fresh. Success came faster than anyone anticipated. The role of Charlie Crawford not only stabilized the show's ratings, but also earned Sheen the 2002 Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Television Comedy. On stage, he admitted candidly that it was a lifeline pulling him back from the chaos of his scandal-ridden 1990s. American media echoed the sentiment. Charlie Sheen has finally proven he can be a serious television star, not just a notorious name. That performance caught the attention of Chuck Lorre, creator of 2.5 Men. Lorre later said that the moment he heard Sheen's name, he knew he'd found someone who could carry a long-running sitcom. It would become the defining pivot of Sheen's career. If Spin City was the lifeline that brought him back to television, then 2.5 Men was his golden summit, a phenomenon that made Charlie Sheen inseparable from early 2000s pop culture. As Charlie Harper, a wealthy, womanizing jingle writer with a fear of commitment, Sheen seemed to simply play himself on screen. The production team leaned into that magnetism, building around him a comedic universe of lovers, the audience affectionately dubbed Charlie's Angels. The list stretched over a dozen names, each with her own flair, adding layers of humor and chaos to the show's tangled web of relationships. Chelsea, Jennifer Taylor, one of the rare women Charlie truly said, "I love you" to, and even proposed to. But Chelsea left him for Alan's lawyer, delivering both heartbreak and bitter laughter to viewers. Melissa, Kelly Stables. Originally Alan's secretary, she became Charlie's girlfriend, only to later date Alan himself, turning their triangle into pure sitcom gold. Candy, April Bowlby, a 22-year-old beauty so naive she bordered on clueless. She started out with Charlie, but later married Alan in a spontaneous Vegas wedding, one of the show's most shocking twists. Mia, Emmanuelle Vaugier, a dance instructor who almost became Charlie Harper's wife until the wedding collapsed over one absurd detail: Alan's refusal to move out of Charlie's house. Lisa, Denise Richards, one of Charlie's early girlfriends. In real life, Denise Richards was Sheen's ex-wife, blurring the line between performance and reality. Courtney, Jenny McCarthy, a con artist who duped Charlie out of $50,000 and a Ferrari, a cruelly funny jab at his own recklessness. Other angels like Sherry, Jerry Ryan, Linda Harris, Ming-Na Wen, Laura Lang, Heather Locklear, Mandy, Gail O'Grady, Ms. Pasternak, Missy Pyle, Gabrielle, Justine Eyre, Kate, Michelle, Liz Vassy, Chloe, Rachel Cannon, each added their own shade to Charlie Harper's portrait, charming, careless, and tragically comic. Interestingly, many of these on-screen lovers went on to build solid careers of their own, appearing in Shameless, Agents of SHIELD, Star Trek, Picard, Superstore, CSI, and more. Some even became linked to Sheen's real-life controversies, making the line between fiction and reality ever more blurred. During this period, 2.5 Men wasn't just a global sitcom hit. It turned Charlie Sheen into the highest-paid actor on television, earning from $800,000 per episode in its first season to nearly $1.8 million per episode by season 8. That unprecedented success marked both the peak of his career and the beginning of his longest, darkest fall. Behind the dazzling success of 2.5 Men lay a stormy backstage reality. While audiences adored the charming, reckless playboy Charlie Harper, Charlie Sheen was, in many ways, living an exaggerated version of that very character off-screen. The line between role and reality grew increasingly blurred, and with it came quiet tension within the production. At the heart of it all was a conflict that would eventually explode: his feud with Chuck Lorre, the show's creator and guiding force. The rift with Lorre had been simmering since the Aspen Christmas incident in 2009. Lorre, a disciplined, sober man who despised excess, asked Sheen to publicly apologize to the crew for his scandal. Sheen refused, yelling, "This whole crew has a job because of me." On set before tapings, small AA meetings were held in the green room. Sheen even helped write the preamble for a while, until suddenly quitting in August 2010. That same year, when his contract expired, CBS and Warner thought they had leverage. But Sheen played hardball, eventually sealing a $100 million deal for 2 more seasons, making him the highest-paid actor in television history. Yet the more he earned, the less control he kept. Writers had to constantly rewrite scenes at the last minute because of his health and erratic attendance. The breaking point came with the Plaza Hotel incident in New York, October 2010, and a severe abdominal emergency in early 2011. CBS and Warner executives Les Moonves and Bruce Rosenblum personally visited Sheen, arranging a private jet to send him to rehab. Sheen refused inpatient treatment, opting for rehab at home, later declaring himself ready to work, even as the network demanded medical clearance he never provided. Meanwhile, Laurie began posting pointed messages on his vanity cards. The most infamous, on February 14, 2011, read, "I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I don't have crazy sex. If Charlie Sheen outlives me, I'll be really pissed." To Sheen, it was a personal attack. Laurie's occasional use of his birth name, Carlos Estevez, or mock nickname, Chaim Levine, only deepened the insult. Furious, Sheen went on a media rampage, appearing on Alex Jones, ABC's 2020, and numerous talk shows, hurling insults at Laure and mocking him in inflammatory terms. CBS and Warner deemed his conduct self-destructive, dangerous, and intolerable. On March 7, 2011, Sheen received an 11-page termination letter stating he was very ill and that the working relationship had become toxic. The rest of Season 8 was canceled, and Sheen was officially fired, marking the moment the soul of 2.5 Men fell from its peak. Within days of his dismissal, a full-blown pop culture storm erupted. Throughout February and March 2011, Sheen dominated television, from ABC, NBC to CNN, delivering bizarre but instantly viral quotes. "I'm on a drug. It's called Charlie Sheen. I'm bi-winning. I win here and I win there. Tiger blood." These phrases flooded the internet, turning him into an accidental pop icon, mocked, memed, yet morbidly fascinating. Then came the cruel irony. Just as he was earning $1.8 million per episode, CBS and Warner Brothers officially severed ties. The media called it the most public career freefall in American television history, a fall both tragic and spectacular, leaving audiences stunned. After Sheen's firing, Ashton Kutcher was brought in as billionaire Walden Schmidt. Though ratings held for a while, the magic was gone. 2.5 Men had lost its heartbeat. Sheen refused to go quietly. He sued CBS and Warner Brothers, demanding hundreds of millions in damages for wrongful termination. After months of tense negotiation, the parties reached a confidential settlement, but the episode forever cemented his reputation as the star who destroyed his own empire. In pop culture, the incident became a cautionary tale, how the highest-paid actor in television, sitting atop the world, could implode in mere weeks. His erratic interviews, reckless sound bites, and unprecedented firing turned Charlie Sheen into a modern symbol of fame's collapse, both absurd and unforgettable. If Charlie Sheen's career once took him to the top of Hollywood, his personal life dragged him into a spiral of chaos he could never escape. His most famous relationship was with Denise Richards. They met on set in 2000 and fell into an intense romance. After their second date, Richards privately confessed that she believed Sheen was the one. Less than 3 months later, during a Christmas trip in 2001, Sheen dropped to one knee and proposed in Arizona. Their June 2002 wedding in Brentwood was dazzling, attended by Sheen's father, Martin Sheen, along with Heather Locklear, Richie Sambora, and Brooke Shields. To the public, they were Hollywood's golden couple. But behind the glittering image, cracks widened fast. In 2004, they welcomed their first daughter, Sam. Later that year, Richards became pregnant again, but just 6 months into the pregnancy, she suddenly filed for divorce. In June 2005, she gave birth to their second daughter, Lola Rose, while divorce proceedings were still pending. The two briefly attempted reconciliation for the sake of their children, but by November 2006, the marriage officially ended. The collapse went far beyond personal differences. It erupted into a public war. In 2007, during the custody battle, Richards filed court papers accusing Sheen of inappropriate behavior, implying disturbing online habits and questionable interests. Sheen fiercely denied the allegations, insisting the claims were fabricated and that the FBI had examined his computer and found nothing incriminating. Their feud, fought in headlines and courtrooms, turned one of Hollywood's most admired marriages into one of its ugliest breakups. Following that public wreckage, Sheen married Brooke Mueller in May 2008. A year later, they welcomed twin boys. But happiness quickly turned to disaster. On Christmas Day 2009, police were called to their home after a violent altercation in which Mueller claimed Sheen had held a knife to her throat. In August 2010, Sheen pled guilty to third-degree assault, receiving rehab and probation instead of jail time, along with anger management counseling. It was clear their marriage was irreparably broken. Then came the infamous Plaza Hotel incident in October 2010. Sheen was escorted out of a $1,000 a night New York suite in a disturbed state. The room had been trashed, and adult film actress Capri Anderson was present, claiming Sheen had become violent. He denied the accusations, blaming the chaos on a reaction to the sleep aid Ambien. The case quickly spiraled into lawsuits and counterclaims, though no charges were ultimately filed. Barely a week after leaving the hospital, on November 1, 2010, Sheen officially filed for divorce from Brooke Mueller in Los Angeles, citing the very night of the Christmas 2009 incident as their date of separation. Their prenuptial agreement guaranteed Mueller $55,000 a month in child support, $1 million to keep their home, and nearly $758,000 in a lump sum payment. Sheen admitted in the papers that he was uncertain of the extent of his assets and liabilities. With twin toddlers barely a year old, the divorce exposed not just the end of a young family, but the unraveling of Charlie Sheen himself, a man whose private chaos was now impossible to hide from the world. But all of that was merely the prelude to the storm of 2011, the most chaotic chapter of Charlie Sheen's life. After a 36-hour party binge that landed him in the hospital, Sheen plunged straight into a media frenzy unlike anything Hollywood had ever seen. On Alex Jones's radio show, he lashed out at Two and a Half Men creator Chuck Lorre with venomous mockery, calling himself an F-18, a Vatican assassin warlock, and dismissing Alcoholics Anonymous as a cheap cult. When Warner Brothers suspended his contract, Sheen didn't retreat. Instead, he flooded the airwaves, appearing on ABC, NBC, CNN, firing off bizarre declarations that instantly became pop culture memes. I'm on a drug. It's called Charlie Sheen. I'm bi-winning. Tiger Blood. What were meant to be damage control interviews quickly spiraled into a global spectacle, transforming America's highest-paid TV actor into the most public example of career self-destruction in Hollywood history. As the industry reeled from the shock, Sheen only pushed further. On March 1, 2011, he launched a Twitter account, shattering the Guinness World Record by reaching 1 million followers in just 25 hours. But instead of using it to rebuild his image, Sheen turned Twitter into a stage for his manic outbursts, an unfiltered stream of chaos that turned his private life into unscripted entertainment. Then came Sheen's Corner, his self-produced live stream on Ustream. What viewers saw wasn't an A-list star, but a disheveled man rambling beside his assistant and two self-proclaimed goddesses, Natalie Kenley and Rachel Oberlin. The broadcasts quickly became internet punchlines, what late-night host Craig Ferguson called a modern-day bedlam. refusing to mock Sheen further because, in his words, "This isn't comedy, it's a public mental breakdown." Still, Sheen took the chaos on tour. His live show, My Violent Torpedo of Truth, Defeat is Not an Option, sold out within minutes. But the Detroit opening night was a disaster. Sheen arrived late, rambled incoherently, was booed off stage, and ended the show halfway through. His once glorious career had turned into a live circus, where even his fans, instead of cheering, walked out in silence. From the Twitter record to the Detroit collapse, it all happened in just a few weeks. But it was enough to turn Charlie Sheen from television's #1 star into a living symbol of self-destruction under the spotlight. And yet, amid the ruins, Sheen unexpectedly found a new stage as the butt of the joke. In September 2011, Comedy Central roast of Charlie Sheen aired, featuring Seth MacFarlane, Amy Schumer, Mike Tyson, and more. The broadcast drew 6.4 million viewers, the highest in the network's history, as audiences tuned in to watch Sheen burned alive in a no-holds-barred comedy takedown. Ironically, his willingness to laugh at his own downfall earned him back a sliver of sympathy, proof that, if nothing else, he could take a punch. That same month, Sheen finally reached a settlement with Warner Brothers and Chuck Lorre, receiving a substantial payout but being permanently banned from entering the Warner Brothers lot. It was the final full stop to the 2.5 Men era, the show that had once defined his fame. Still, Sheen refused to disappear. In 2012, he returned to television with the FX sitcom Anger Management. Notably, his father Martin Sheen joined the cast, and even Denise Richards made a cameo appearance. The show was marketed as Charlie Sheen's Redemption, an attempt to turn his real-life chaos into comedy. While it never reached the monumental success of 2.5 Men, it proved one undeniable truth. Even at his lowest, Charlie Sheen knew how to turn his own downfall into entertainment. 4 years after stepping away from the spotlight of Anger Management, Charlie Sheen once again sent shockwaves through Hollywood. On November 17, 2015, during a live interview on NBC's Today Show, he publicly revealed that he had been HIV positive since 2011, a secret he had kept hidden by paying over $10 million in hush money to blackmailers. "Those are 3 hard letters to absorb," Sheen admitted. "The day I was diagnosed, I just wanted to end my life. But my mom was there. I couldn't do that in front of her." In interviews with Today and later Good Morning America, Sheen confessed that during his 2011 meltdown, he had been caught in what he described as an accidental steroid rage, the result of excessive testosterone use meant to sustain his libido, a factor that, he said, fueled his reckless public behavior at the time. He recalled the moment his doctor handed him a handful of antiviral pills with the assurance, "You can go home now. You're going to live." That sentence, Sheen said, changed everything. It turned him from a man ready to give up into someone who felt he was now carrying the torch for others fighting HIV. Doctors later confirmed that Sheen's health was stable and that his viral load was undetectable due to strict adherence to treatment. He never missed a single dose, even during periods when he continued to drink or use drugs. Eventually, Sheen joined an FDA clinical trial for PRO-140, an injectable, side-effect-free therapy that he described as liberating. No more of those horrific drug cocktails from the old days. His revelation was more than a personal confession. It was a cultural earthquake. Within hours, the name Charlie Sheen dominated global trends on Twitter and Facebook, with millions of comments and shares. Major newspapers, the New York Times, The Guardian, Los Angeles Times, all ran front-page headlines. Many expressed compassion, calling Sheen living proof that HIV was no longer a death sentence as it had been in the 1980s. Yet others were outraged, condemning him for hiding his diagnosis for 4 years. Hollywood, too, was divided. Some colleagues voiced support, arguing that an A-list actor publicly disclosing his HIV status could dismantle stigma and encourage testing, a move public health experts hailed as invaluable. Others accused Sheen of exploiting his illness to cleanse his scandal-ridden past and regain sympathy. Surprisingly, health and social organizations moved swiftly to capitalize on the moment. Across the U.S., from Los Angeles to New York, free testing campaigns were launched. Clinics reported record numbers of young people getting HIV tests in the week following Sheen's announcement. Experts dubbed it the Sheen effect, a rare instance when a celebrity scandal directly drove positive public health action. For the public, Charlie Sheen transformed overnight from Hollywood's bad boy into one of its most polarizing figures, at once a symbol of downfall and of courage. That paradox, being both condemned and celebrated, kept his story alive in the collective memory. Yet the confession also reignited fierce moral debates. Former lover Brie Olson claimed she had never been warned about his status, while Natalie Kenley defended him, saying Sheen had never knowingly put anyone at risk. This clash of narratives ensured that his disclosure, instead of ending speculation, made him the center of an even deeper conversation, one about responsibility, forgiveness, and the limits of redemption. Alongside his public revelation, other shadows soon surrounded him. Charlie Sheen became entangled in allegations involving Corey Haim, the troubled 1980s teen idol, over an alleged incident on the set of Lucas. Some witnesses came forward with claims, but Haim's family and close friends immediately denied them, accusing the accusers of fabrication. No evidence was ever produced, yet the cloud of suspicion deepened the damage to Sheen's already battered reputation. By 2016, after years of chaos, doctors diagnosed Sheen with bipolar disorder, a plausible explanation for the manic outbursts of 2011 when he proclaimed himself infused with tiger blood and by-winning. From then on, Sheen appeared far less frequently on screen, taking part only in small projects like the online comedy Mad Families, 2017. From commanding $1.8 million per episode on 2.5 Men, to descending into scandal, illness, and isolation, Charlie Sheen's life had become a tragic Hollywood epic, where fame and self-destruction existed as two sides of the same coin. Public opinion, the press, and even fellow actors were divided. Yet behind the scenes, the Sheen family endured its own heartbreak. Martin Sheen, the patriarch, known for his moral gravitas and for playing the president on The West Wing, spoke openly about the mixture of pain and pride he felt. He called his son a warrior, but admitted that watching Charlie destroy himself for years before his HIV disclosure had been a kind of torture no father should ever experience. Emilio Estevez, the reserved and private older brother who rarely appeared alongside Charlie, also broke his silence. At a film premiere, he quietly told reporters, "We're always there for each other, but sometimes you have to let someone walk through their own darkness." It was both a declaration of love and an admission of helplessness. For the Sheen family, Charlie's HIV confession marked a turning point, from shame and anger to eventual acceptance and forgiveness. Martin later said that the moment his son finally told the truth, he felt Charlie had a real chance to start over, and the family would be waiting for him when he did. From a man who once made America laugh every night to a figure of tragedy and reflection, Charlie Sheen became living proof of how thin the line can be between glory and ruin. Yet amid the wreckage, his decision to speak the truth about his illness, his past, and himself stood as a rare victory. Because sometimes in the world of fallen stars, survival itself is a form of redemption. Charlie Sheen's legacy is a paradox, brilliant yet dark. In cinema, he was once one of the brightest faces of the 1980s, when Platoon and Wall Street under Oliver Stone's direction propelled him into the ranks of Hollywood's most promising young actors. And yet the role that could have changed everything, the lead in Born on the 4th of July, slipped away. Many believe it was his arrogance and unreliability that made directors wary. Had things gone differently, Sheen might have become one of the defining film icons of that era, rather than veering toward television comedy so soon. On the small screen, 2.5 Men became his undeniable landmark. Over 8 seasons, his character Charlie Harper, a wealthy, womanizing man-child who refused to grow up, became the quintessential symbol of early 21st century American pop culture. With a record-breaking $1.8 million per episode, Sheen became the highest-paid television actor in the world, and the sitcom turned into a global phenomenon. But Sheen's cultural impact extended far beyond entertainment. In 2011, during his manic spiral, phrases like "tiger blood," "by-winning," and "one speed, go" became instant memes, printed on t-shirts, juice bottles labeled "tiger blood," and even Halloween costumes. Yet amid the laughter, an ethical question lingered. Talk show host Craig Ferguson refused to join the mockery, remarking, "It's like Bedlam in the Middle Ages, people paying to watch the mentally ill." It was a stark reminder of how thin the line is between entertainment and genuine psychological collapse. Sheen's most meaningful social impact came years later, through his 2015 HIV revelation. Though the confession polarized the public, health experts hailed it as a cultural turning point. Searches for HIV tests skyrocketed. Rapid test kit sales rose nearly 95%, and clinics nationwide reported record numbers of young people getting tested. Researchers called it the Sheen effect, proof that even a celebrity scandal could spark positive change in public health awareness. Even his exit from 2.5 Men left a lesson behind. Ashton Kutcher took over as Walden Schmidt, a lost tech billionaire, keeping the series alive until 2015. But audiences never forgot, nor forgave, that the golden age ended with Sheen. In the final episode, both Charlie and creator Chuck Lorre were crushed under a falling piano, a bitter metaphor that in the war between star, producer, and addiction, no one truly wins. Thus, Charlie Sheen's legacy remains one of Hollywood's greatest contradictions. A man who once held every golden opportunity, yet became living proof that fame and self-destruction can erupt in the same breath, leaving behind an indelible mark, whether glorious or broken. No one could have predicted that the man once seen as the very embodiment of Hollywood chaos would enter his 60s with the exact opposite choice: sobriety and stillness. Charlie Sheen has now been clean for 8 years. "All my priorities now revolve around staying sober," he says, a simple statement that carries the weight of a lifelong struggle. To keep himself away from old temptations, Sheen chose to abstain from sex for nearly a decade, a decision that surprised many. But for him, it was about reclaiming boundaries and discipline. The greatest change, however, came not from abstinence but from mindset. Sheen admits he still shudders with shame when remembering the years of madness, yet instead of running from them, he has learned to forgive himself. Instead of chasing a Hollywood comeback with a blockbuster role, Sheen took another path, telling his own story. He released his memoir, The Book of Sheen, and a 2-part Netflix documentary titled AKA Charlie Sheen. There, audiences rediscover not just the fallen star, but the man willing to face his own darkness, addiction, sex, HIV, and the long, bitter feud with Chuck Lorre. Voices from his past, ex-wives, children, friends, colleagues, appear, shaping a portrait that is brutally honest and deeply human. Notably, his father Martin Sheen and brother Emilio Estevez both chose not to participate, allowing Charlie to narrate this turbulent chapter in his own voice without filters or protection. In these interviews, Sheen revealed truths he had never shared before: that he once had same-sex experiences during his addiction years, that he used crack cocaine and other hard drugs, and that speaking these secrets aloud felt like a final act of release, a spiritual cleansing after decades of silence. But Charlie Sheen's present isn't just about confession. He has launched a new venture, a non-alcoholic beer brand called Wild AF Brewery, a paradox both ironic and redemptive. The man once destroyed by alcohol now builds a business that helps others stay away from it, as if rewriting the very narrative that once consumed him. On the family front, Sheen is carefully mending old bonds. He has publicly expressed his wish to reconcile with John Cryer, his 2.5 Men co-star who was once like a brother. At the premiere of his documentary, Sheen appeared alongside Denise Richards, his ex-wife and mother of his 2 daughters, a rare but touching sight of late reconciliation and quiet grace. Health-wise, Sheen continues to live with HIV openly and optimistically. In multiple interviews, including with Dr. Oz, he has spoken about his ongoing treatment, faith in science, and desire to inspire others living with the same condition. He no longer hides from the illness that once shocked the world in 2015. Now he has turned it into a symbol of survival and healing. The image of Charlie Sheen today is no longer that of a rebel under the spotlight. It's of a man sitting in a small diner, sipping coffee, calmly recounting his life to the camera, as if to say, "This time, I'm finally the one writing the script of my own story." Charlie Sheen's life is a reel of contradictions, where genius and downfall, light and shadow, glory and despair intertwine without end. He once stood atop the summit of fame that millions dream of, only to throw himself headfirst into chaos. Yet in that very abyss, Sheen found what fame could never give him, the peace that comes from forgiving oneself. Hollywood has seen countless stars, but few have ever lived with such raw honesty. Charlie Sheen is not a symbol of victory. He is a testament to rebirth, to the journey of a man learning to peel away his masks, face his shattered self, and piece it all back together through truth. Today, with the spotlights long dimmed, Charlie Sheen is no longer Hollywood's bad boy, but a man who lives slowly, sincerely, and gratefully, thankful simply for the chance to begin again. He may never regain everything he once lost, but he has reclaimed the most important thing of all, himself. And perhaps, looking at Charlie Sheen now, calm, smiling softly over a cup of coffee in a quiet cafe, we are reminded that each of us has our own Platoon and Wall Street, our own battles and downfalls. His story isn't just to be watched, it's to be understood. That everyone has the right to fall and to rise again with grace. If you too have walked through your own dark days, share your thoughts below. Perhaps the story of Charlie Sheen and your story might help someone out there find the courage to start over. And don't forget to follow the channel, so together we can uncover more extraordinary journeys, where behind the lights we see more clearly the human heart.